I still remember exactly how she said it. No drama, no tears, just cold, direct, like she was announcing something that didn't really concern me. Rachel was standing by the sink, rinsing out her smoothie glass, and looked me straight in the eye when she said she wanted a divorce. That she needed someone with a future, someone who actually tried. I stared at her for a few seconds just to make sure I heard her right. Then I nodded. No sighs. No asking why. I just said, if that's what she wanted, okay. I think my reaction caught her off guard for a moment, but she quickly snapped back into that usual confidence. Said she'd already spoken to a lawyer, that she was definitely getting the house. Told me, shamelessly, I had 1 week to pack my things and leave. What she didn't know was that just last week, the investment account under my private LLC had officially crossed $500,000 a year. She thought she was walking away from a failure. She had no idea. She just pushed me straight into a life 10 times better. I packed in silence. Took only 2 things with me, my laptop and a slim folder that held everything that actually mattered. Documents Rachel had never seen, never even asked about. She stood leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, looking relaxed, almost like an outsider watching a scene play out. I could feel her eyes on my back, not with concern, but curiosity, like she was waiting to see how I'd react. She asked if I'd figured out where I was staying. Added that it'd be inconvenient if I kept dragging things out without a solid plan. Said Derek would be coming over next week to help fix up the house and throw a little housewarming get-together to refresh the energy. So I should probably be out before the weekend. Derek. My best friend. She dropped his name like he was about to take my place in this house. Her tone was casual, but every word landed like a cold knife. I didn't turn around. Just zipped the bag shut, lifted it off the bed, and set it by the door. She probably thought I needed time to process, to grieve. What she didn't know was that I had left this marriage a long time ago. I just hadn't left the house yet. I told her I'd be gone before Friday. Flat. No emotion. I heard her exhale, almost like a sigh of relief. Then she walked off, leaving behind the scent of her perfume in the air. A scent I once loved, but now just smelled fake and tired. I took one last look around the room. Not sad, not nostalgic, just taking mental notes. We lived together for 7 years, married for 5. And in all that time, she never once truly asked me, "What exactly do you do for work?" It always stopped at things like another day staring at a screen. Or "I don't get what you do at all." I never explained. Not because I was hiding anything, but because when someone doesn't want to understand, no explanation will ever be enough. Rachel liked things that were easy to grasp. Job titles on business cards, coworkers who bragged about bonuses, meeting calendars and travel schedules. Meanwhile, I spent my days tracking down data vulnerabilities for companies she'd never even heard of. I've known Derek since freshman year. We shared a dorm, road trip together, got drunk in snowstorms, dragged each other home more times than I can count. He stood next to me at my wedding, laughing when I fumbled the ring on Rachel's finger. I didn't need to ask if something was going on between them. It had been obvious for a while, not because of any hand-holding or physical slip-ups, but the way she started saying his name, the way he popped up more and more in everyday conversation. Subtle. Repeated. To her. Maybe I was just the guy who fixed her Wi-Fi. In her head, Derek, my best friend from college, fit the mold of what a man should be. He knew how to talk, how to dress, how to make people feel seen. She said he understood women, that he was thoughtful, easy to talk to. And me, I was the guy holed up in the home office, never saying the right thing, never planning surprises, never making her feel special. I started noticing the small shifts. She came home later. Gave no reasons. Started putting her phone face down. Dinner became optional. Derek's name slid into conversations more often, always casually, always conveniently. But patterns don't repeat themselves by accident. I didn't confront her. I didn't question it. I just took note. So when Rachel asked for a divorce, I didn't need a grand reveal. I didn't need more proof. I just needed to leave. I left the house on Friday morning, just like I said I would. The sun was just high enough to light everything I was about to leave behind. As I passed by her room, the door was open just enough for me to see inside. She was still asleep facing the wall, her breathing steady, hair draped across the pillow. I stood there for a moment, not because I had second thoughts, but because I wanted to remember this exact scene. Not to long for it, but to never forget what I had endured. How hard I tried. How quietly I tolerated everything. I rolled my suitcase down the hallway, my steps light, careful not to wake her. Not out of kindness, but because there was nothing left to say. Whatever words she still needed to hear, my lawyer would take care of that. I took my house key off the ring and placed it gently on the console table by the front door, then closed the door softly behind me. The new apartment was on the 17th floor, just 15 minutes from the old house, but it felt like another world. It wasn't luxurious. It wasn't decorated. But no one here knew I was the man who got left. No one here knew who Rachel was. I made myself a cup of coffee, sat down, watched sunlight cut through thick glass like it meant something. It didn't feel like freedom. It felt like readiness. Ready for the divorce she thought would be clean, quick, an easy win. She was about to learn something she'd never bothered to ask. I'm not the man who got pushed off the board. I'm the man who flipped the whole damn table before she even made her first move. Everything moved faster than I expected. Strangely fast. Rachel picked the lawyer. I didn't object. The paperwork came through email. Dates were set. No tears. No pleas. No apologies. No one needed them. She asked to keep the house, some furniture, and half of the savings she thought I had. I nodded, agreed to everything. No haggling, no hesitation. I could see the flicker of confusion in her eyes. Even with all her confidence, there were moments when she looked genuinely puzzled. Maybe she expected resistance. Maybe she thought I'd get angry, that I'd fight for pride, or principle, or just to make it harder. But I didn't, because she never knew the truth. Yes, the house was under my name, but it was a rental, always had been. Most of the furniture picked out by her, bought on our joint credit card, and paid off by me. And the savings account she was so eager to split, just a decoy. A small piece, just enough to make her believe she'd won. I signed every page without flinching, handed over everything she asked for, every bit of it part of the plan. Because the real value, it was never in what she saw. The multi-page investment portfolio, the shares tied to the parent corporation, the apartment I moved into bought outright under a trust she never knew existed. She won the battle she thought mattered, but the real game. She lost that before she even sat down at the table. After the divorce, Rachel didn't waste a minute. Her Instagram turned into a showroom overnight. Pictures of the living room bathed in warm candlelight. Dinner tables perfectly staged. Captions like, "Peace is a choice," or "It's never too late to start again." In the corner of one photo, I spotted Derek, legs crossed, wine glass in hand, smiling like a man who truly believed he'd landed the lead role in some romantic indie film. Mutual friends sent me screenshots. Not to gloat, just the kind of, "Hey, in case you hadn't seen, they're official now." I didn't reply. Just read them, then left them unread. Rachel started throwing small gatherings, fresh flowers, color-coordinated cakes, a curated jazz playlist humming in the background. She invited old friends, posted confident stories, showed off her new space, her new furniture, her new energy. Sometimes she mentioned Derek, always with that same narrative: he was there for me when things were hardest. But I knew Derek in ways Rachel never did. We were college roommates once, shared a cramped apartment with 2 worn-out mattresses, and a fridge that never had beer when we needed it. Derek was the kind of guy who could befriend anyone in 5 minutes and get invited to a party within 10. But after the party, all that was usually left was an unpaid tab and a handful of empty promises. He loved plenty of women. He just never loved anyone enough to stay. Back in college, he got engaged once to a law student named Emily. Smart. Serious. The real deal. He told me, half drunk, that she was too much. Too many opinions. Too many expectations. Too much love. He was terrified of anything that asked him to commit deeper than a weekend trip or a dinner reservation. So when I saw him with Rachel, the woman who once dreamed of stability and said she just wanted a quiet, dependable life, I wasn't shocked. I was just a little sorry. Rachel thought Derek had rescued her from a stagnant marriage. What she didn't realize was that Derek only shines when things are going well. When money's flowing, work is easy, and the lights are flattering. But the moment things get tight, when bills stack, jobs fall through, or someone leans in too hard, he either disappears or sticks around just long enough to point fingers. I'd cleaned up after Derek once. There wouldn't be a second time. Rachel thought post-divorce life was an upgrade, a clean slate, a chapter without the shadow of her ex. I didn't say anything. Some lessons you've got to learn the hard way. I just kept living my life quiet, steady. And every month, another bank statement came in reminding me, without fanfare or hashtags, that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. A few months after the divorce, Rachel started texting again. Nothing direct. Just vague little check-ins. No apologies. No real reasons. One day it was an article about tech, with a message like, "Thought. This was interesting. Wondered if it's the kind of thing you work on." Another time, she said, "Saw a tie today that looked just like the one I bought you back then." I replied once. Told her I was doing well. Work's been great. Life's been good. Then flipped it, asked how she was doing. You must be happy now. Right, I knew better. But I let the question hang, just to see what she'd say. She didn't say much, still kept it light, still played the just old friends catching up tone. I didn't read too deep, but I didn't ignore it either. The texts kept coming, not constant but consistent. Every few days another one, like she was checking to see if I was still there, still reading, still open. Then one night, she asked if we could meet. Just coffee. Old friends. That's all. I said yes, not out of hope, but curiosity. I knew this moment would come. It always does. She'd held out for a while, keeping her pride intact. But at some point, the cracks start to show. We met at a familiar little cafe, one we used to visit years ago. She arrived first, took the corner seat. She looked tired, not messy, not broken, just like someone trying hard to hold it together. Not the polished, put-together woman she used to be in public. The confidence wasn't gone, but it flickered, fragile, strained. She talked. Light stories at first, didn't dive into details. But it was enough for me to piece things together. Things weren't going well. Derek's work situation was shaky. She asked casually if I knew of any job opportunities for him. Said he was looking. Said they'd hit a rough patch with bills. That things had piled up faster than expected. I didn't say much, just stirred my coffee. Listened. I didn't offer help. Didn't open the door wider. I just let her speak. When it was time to leave, I told her I was sure she'd figure it all out. I paid for the coffee, wished her well. She said thank you softly, barely audible. The kind of thank you that's laced with something else, but too quiet to unpack. And that was it. No promises, no second chances, just a quiet goodbye tucked inside a polite coffee shop exit. I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. And the deeper she went, the harder it would be to turn back. One afternoon, I got a call from Mrs. Carol, our old neighbor. She lived right next to Rachel's place and had kept in touch ever since I moved out, partly to check in, mostly to drop casual updates about the current situation next door. Rachel and Derek were still living there, but things had changed. No more parties. No more candlelit dinners. No more sleek BMW parked proudly in the driveway. Carol said the house had grown quiet, tense. She'd overheard arguments, some loud enough to make her shut her windows, caught bits and pieces of shouting about too many unpaid bills. I didn't react, didn't feel smug, just listened, because I knew this would happen. Eventually. It always does. I didn't need to smile. I just thanked her and said, "Let me know if anything changes." Because when you know exactly who someone is, and they choose each other for all the wrong reasons, the unraveling is only a matter of time. I didn't have to lift a finger. All I had to do was stay still. And let the truth do what it always does. Reveal itself. I thought the coffee meetup was our last chapter. But a few weeks later, another message came. This one was different. No more dancing around. Rachel was straightforward this time. She said things were tough. Derek still hadn't landed anything steady. They'd moved out of the old house, couldn't keep up with the rent. Now they were in a smaller apartment, farther out. Thin walls, no in-unit washer, an air conditioner that rattled like it was trying to fall apart. She didn't say it like she was complaining. She listed things off like she was trying to stay composed, like keeping her tone neutral would protect whatever pride she had left. But I could picture it all. Derek home all day, still looking for the right opportunity. Rachel covering everything: rent, utilities, groceries, bandwidth. Her job wasn't bad, but it wasn't what she once thought it would be. And it sure as hell wasn't enough for two people. I didn't need to ask more. What she didn't say was already clear. They thought they could start fresh, thought that love, or chemistry, or whatever it was they had would carry them into a better life. But real life isn't something you rebrand with a new zip code and a curated Instagram reel. I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel pleased either. I just felt justified. This was what happens when you chase the thrill of something new, without fully understanding what you're giving up. I didn't respond right away. Didn't delete the message either. Just let it sit there. Maybe I'll answer in a few days. Maybe I won't. No rush, because I know this won't be the last message. Not by a long shot. What I had predicted all along finally happened, not too soon, not too late, just in time for Derek to decide Rachel no longer had anything left to offer him. And I didn't find out through gossip, or screenshots, or a friend in common. I found out from Rachel herself. She called me in the middle of the night. I was asleep when the phone rang. Her voice was wrecked, flat, cracked in places. She told me she'd gone to the mall near their place, planned to grab a few things on sale. But as she stepped out of the elevator, she saw Derek, not alone, with a younger woman, long hair, tight dress. Her arm looped through his like they were in the middle of a romantic comedy. They didn't hide. They laughed loudly, paused at a sunglasses display, said something that made them both double over. It was a life without her in it, and they weren't even trying to pretend otherwise. She didn't remember how she walked up to them, only that her body moved on its own. She shouted, asked what the hell he was doing, turned to the girl and snapped, "Do you even know you're with a broke leech who doesn't pay his bills?" People stopped. Some stared. Phones came out. Derek didn't pull her away, didn't try to explain. He said something low. And when she kept raising her voice, he lost his temper, right there. In front of everyone, he slapped her. She said it wasn't the slap that hurt the most. It was the silence after. The girl didn't flinch. Derek turned away like she was the one causing a scene, and Rachel just stood there, her cheek burning under the weight of 100 strangers' stares. She didn't remember how she got home, only that when she walked through the door, Derek was already there, TV on, feet up, didn't say a word. She told me she didn't know where to go, said she couldn't stay there anymore, didn't want to see him. didn't want to breathe the same air. And then she asked, just for a few days, if she could stay with me. I sat there, silent, didn't interrupt, didn't react right away. I wasn't happy to hear what had happened. I wasn't relieved either. There was a heaviness in my chest, a kind of quiet grief that comes when you see something awful you always knew was coming, but it still manages to feel worse when it's real. She betrayed me for Derek, and now Derek had betrayed her. I told her gently, but firmly, that it wasn't possible, that her coming to stay with me, even for a few days, wasn't something I could allow. I suggested she go to her parents or find a safe place to land, at least for now. And that. However, she chose to move forward. She needed to get out of that apartment as soon as possible. She didn't say anything else, just a long silence on the line. Then she hung up. I got out of bed, turned on the light, poured myself a glass of water. No feeling of triumph, no satisfaction. Just another night closing out exactly the way this whole story had always been headed. When you choose wrong, consequences follow. It's only a matter of how soon you're willing to see it. A few days later, I found out they'd been evicted. A mutual friend who still lived in the building messaged me. Said the apartment door had a notice taped to it 3 months behind on rent. No responses. No payment. Deadline passed. Rachel messaged me again. No more pretense this time. She laid it all out. After the affair blew up, everything fell apart. She and Derek barely spoke, shared space, but nothing else. She tried to keep up with the bills, tried to survive. Her paycheck barely stretched across their debt. And Derek still unemployed, still drifting, still feeding her lines about waiting for the right opportunity. When the eviction notice came, he didn't help, didn't plan, didn't care. He snapped, said she was the one dragging him down. Said everything had gone to hell since he met her. Then he left, no warning, no message. By the time I read her text, she'd already packed. Said she was moving back in with her parents. Not what she wanted, but there were no other options. At her age, going home like that felt like hitting rock bottom. She once told herself she left our marriage for something better. But now, she was left picking up the broken pieces of her own choices. No savings, no partner, no safety net. Her family was still there, but worn out. They had warned her, told her not to rush, not to fall for easy happiness. She didn't listen, and now they offered her shelter, but not their hands to lift her again. Friends faded, not because they hated her, but because no one wants front row seats to someone's disaster when that someone won't even try to change the script. She thought she was building a new life, a fresh start with Derek, no baggage, no boring husband. But all she built was a house with no foundation. And when it collapsed, it took everything with it. As for me, I did nothing. No revenge, no exposés, just silence, karma, or if we're being honest, consequences handled it all for me. There's a strange kind of peace that comes from watching people like Rachel and Derek walk themselves exactly where they were always headed. They thought they were clever, thought they could step on someone else to level up. But life has a way of teaching lessons, quietly, precisely, and without offering a way back. Me. I'm still in that same apartment, still making my morning coffee, still working from my corner desk by the window. Work's steady, income's good. Each month brings something new, a project, a deal, a conversation worth having. No rush, no noise. Everything arrives right on time. I'm not rich in a way that people envy, but I'm secure in a way no one can touch. And I don't talk about Rachel. Don't bash her when people ask. I just say, we grew apart. That's it. I don't feel angry anymore. No sadness either. What I lost, I realize now, were just the things holding me back. What I kept: my calm, my dignity, my ability to rebuild. Those are the things that matter. Some breakups look like failure, but they're really the first time you finally start living for yourself. And some people walk away like they've won. But later, much later, they realize all they did was walk out of a life they never truly deserved.